Yo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. WrestleMania Night 1 is in the books, and although the build-up towards this pay-per-view has been very, very terrible, WrestleMania showed up tonight and over-delivered in a way that I could have never have expected. We're actually going to be a little positive tonight as everybody went out there in front of the returning fans and killed it, with the exception of two matches, which we will be bringing the hammer down as only we can, and we are going to talk about it all right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's WrestleMania 37 review and reaction show. I can't believe how excited I am. Let's do this. You know, despite the fact, as we said, that the build-up for this show was so terrible, I've been a wrestling fan for nearly 40 years. And when you say the word WrestleMania to me, the insides just start to tingle and you can't help but get excited because you're flooded with all your memories and your favorite WrestleMania moments, and it's a wrestling fan's favorite time of the year more often than not. And they gave us two of the worst go-home shows ever, and then came out on top by the end of night one here on Saturday, giving us a WrestleMania to remember. With a couple of new championships changing hands, we had Bad Bunny shocking the world and actually putting on one of the best celebrity matches I have ever seen, not since Lawrence Taylor back in WrestleMania 11, when he went one-on-one with Bam Bam Bigelow, have I seen a celebrity who was involved in a match actually deliver the way that he delivered tonight. This guy pulled a Canadian Destroyer out of the buns on his head. It was absolutely crazy. So most of the night for WrestleMania, I was all like... But let's not forget that at 8 p.m., when WrestleMania was supposed to be starting, and I'm sitting there all excited, sliding down my slide like a big Patchy the Pirate going, yay! It then slowly and actually very quickly turned to more of a moment of... Why, do you ask? Well, the reason is simple, because WrestleMania, much like real professional sports, got hit with a rain delay right at the start of the show, and I couldn't help but feel like, oh my god, this is a bad omen. Everything that could possibly go wrong might possibly go wrong tonight, but that was not the case. The Thunderdome was probably jealous that they went to the Raymond James Stadium and called his weather-themed buddies and said, you know what, rain on this, because they didn't want to do it here in their home, the Thunderdome. But I was so happy, so happy to see the fans in attendance. When they hit that camera wide shot and I saw however many thousands of people were there with their masks or without their masks, I could care less. The fact is, I got goosebumps. I got emotional when I saw all of the superstars on the stage to open the show being led by the most psychotic boss in all of professional wrestling, Mr. McMahon, welcoming us and thanking us and saying, welcome to WrestleMania, as only Vince McMahon could. I couldn't help but get all the feels. It has been 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day since the fans have stepped foot inside the WWE's hallowed grounds, and we all came back for WrestleMania, and I had a great time. I had a great time with this show. There were so many things that I was not looking forward to that actually turned around and had me hooked, had me interested, and got me excited even more so for tomorrow. But let's take this one step at a time. WrestleMania Night 1 kicked off because of the weather delay with a lot of impromptu backstage moments, some interviews. We had a very heated back and forth between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre as they were supposed to open the show tonight, and I can't imagine being in their shoes. Imagine you're hitting that 8 o'clock hour, you know you're the first match on the card, you're about to get ready, you're about to go out there, and then they tell you, hey, guess what? It's raining. You guys gotta wait. We gotta let the severe weather warning pass. All right, and then for the next 30 minutes, we all sat waiting in anticipation of the first match. And that's gotta kill the competitors. Especially, you're all warmed up, you're getting ready, and now you have to cool back down. And then you have to maybe stay ready so you don't have to get ready again. And how hard is that to do for 30 minutes? And then you get Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre coming down, and we got two badass big beastie bruisers beating the bananas out of each other. That was a lot of B's for my alliteration there. I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened. But my God, they were beating the skin off each other for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this match was everything I could have asked for. I wasn't so sold on it because I really just believed WWE were replaying last year's moment for Drew McIntyre, and they just put Bobby Lashley in the role of Brock Lesnar. But this match was very good. It was severely hard-hitting. These guys beat the tar off each other, man. It was something to behold. Some really great psychological wrestling taking place here in the middle of this massive fight that could probably rival Kong versus Godzilla. They were so intense. It was really great, and what made it even better was the fact that the WWE made the right call, and they played the hot hand, and the almighty champion, Bobby Lashley, still reigns supreme. He was able to get Drew McIntyre in the Hurt Lock to finish this thing, and he passed out Drew McIntyre. Drew didn't tap out, which is a great little angle. Drew never gave up. He simply was put to sleep by the Almighty, and it was a great opening match. I enjoyed every single second of it. It was one of those matches where as you're watching, every time they smacked the shit out of each other, you were like, oh, ow, ooh, and there would be a lot of that going on throughout the night, at least in this house. It was unbelievably physical, and props to Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre for this near 20-minute banger that they put on that was way better than any storytelling that they told for this match leading up into the match. And that is going to be the theme of night one of WrestleMania. The storytelling leading up to every single match we've seen tonight was piss poor terrible, but the outcome and the matches we got, for the most part, were fantastic. I almost skipped over the awkward beginning moment where we had Titus O'Neil, the recipient of the Warrior Award this year, and Hulk Hogan introducing this show, which was unnecessary. When you're a half hour behind, you could have cut a lot of this filler stuff and interview and promo stuff down just a little bit. They could have come out, hey, welcome to WrestleMania. I'm Titus. I won this award. I'm the Hulkster brother, and I'm old, and, people still cheer for me for whatever reason, and I'm in the NW old, I said, because, yeah, they look freaking old. But it's not an insult, because what does that say about me? That means I'm fucking old, too. So don't get offended by that. But it was unnecessary. It was a little awkward, to say the least. It didn't do much to get me any more excited than I already was. At that point, after the delay, I just wanted to get shit started. And boy, did they ever, with a great heavyweight championship bout where the championship was retained by the right man. Absolutely great. You know what wasn't great? Here comes another one of those moments where I was like, I can't get enough of some Patchy the Pirate. We had Tag Team Turmoil as match number 2 on the night, and it was not good. It was not good for many reasons. First of all, my pick to win this match was the Riot Squad. Not because they've been built up properly, because Lord knows they haven't. They've barely been on TV during WrestleMania season at all. Not because they had this really cool Joker versus Harley Quinn themed outfit scheme going on, which definitely is a little bit like a shot to my heart because those are my favorite Batman villains of all time, as I am for many of you Batman fans as well. Gotta love you some Joker and some Harley Quinn. And I thought that was a very unique and very interesting presentation. But that's not why I wanted them to win. Nor did I want them to win because, I forgot the third reason, but who cares? The only reason I really wanted them to win this match. Oh, reason number 3, not because they deserve it, because there's no reason for them to have deserved it at all. But the reason I did want them to win is because they're the only actual tag team on the roster. So why not try to build them up while you try to figure out what else to do with the rest of these females? And, it was a bunch of makeshift tag teams. Billie Kay and Carmella were thrown together at the last minute within 7 days before WrestleMania, and they eliminated Naomi and Lana within the first couple of minutes of this match. I didn't realize Tag Team Turmoil was pretty much just a gauntlet match, but this goes from bad to worse when you watch Billie Kay in the ring with Lana. These two are probably the least talented of the entire field that's taken part in this Tag Team Turmoil, and it showed. It showed. Billie Kay was terrible in the ring. Nothing she did looked smooth. It looks like she just started learning to wrestle yesterday. Lana, everybody keeps saying she's improved. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. So they are the first of a couple of poop hammers that are going down on this night. It goes for the entirety of this Tag Team Turmoil nonsense. The Riot Squad would then come out next after Billie Kay and Carmella got the first victory in this matchup, and then the Riot Squad would beat them, thank God, and got them out of there. Then they would go on to defeat Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, but Mandy Rose got a great WrestleMania moment, and she's a good sport about it. She went to social media, and she didn't, she wasn't an asshole about it. She understands that, hey, sometimes people fall on their ass. And she didn't get to win this match. She didn't do anything all too impressive in this match. So she gets her moment because she busted her ass walking down the entrance ramp. And I felt bad. I felt bad for a millisecond before the rest of my body just started chuckling out loud in laughter. Because when people fall down, you laugh. If I fell down, you would laugh. If my chair broke right now, God forbid, and I collapsed on the floor and all my studio crumbled down in front of me and yous were watching it, yous would laugh. Right? So when people fall, it's funny. Right? I'm not being a dick. It's just a fact. And Mandy Rose took quite a fall. And if you missed it, it's been all over social media. She's the new Titus worldwide for this year. Mandy fell on her buttocks, and she's so good looking, and it doesn't even matter. She could take that one, take it on the chin, and botch it up to, well, I just had a bad night. But at least it's something that's going to be remembered forever. If nothing else, it's memorable. So congratulations, Mandy Rose, on your unforgettable WrestleMania moment. Thank you for coming as Mandy and her opponent Dana Brooke, who I think had a nip slip because all of a sudden we got a black screen flashing. Some sort of a wardrobe malfunction is what I'm assuming, because their outfits were very, very, what's the word? Minuscule, I'll use. There was another word I was looking for, but I couldn't figure out what it was. Anyway, things go from bad to worse for me here because the Riot Squad now has to face Natamina or Natalia or whatever. Come up with a fucking name for them if you're going to make this a real serious thing and have these girls be a tag team. Divas of Doom 2.0 or some shit. I don't know. Come up with something. But Tamina and Natalia get the win, pinning the Riot Squad, earning the tag team championship match tomorrow night. And now I really could care less about the women's tag team championships. I thought my horse in the race was the Riot Squad, and if they won, I would have had a vested interest in tomorrow's championship match because I would have wanted them to beat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who were watching awkwardly in the back, in the traditional WWE side view where, they stand sideways and the screen is sideways and it's just kind of awkward looking. So this was bad. This was a very bad match, probably the worst match of the night, which is why I felt like a pirate being spun around on a carousel by a bunch of crazy children. But then we got to go down the slide again. And don't tell him, nobody tell him this, but Seth Rollins is one of the MVPs on this night. Even in defeat, Seth Rollins went out there and he sold the hell out of this matchup. He did a fantastic job. In ring, he's one of the best the WWE has. The very same thing could be said about Cesaro, and both of these guys proved it tonight. This was one of my favorite matches. Cesaro looked like an absolute superstar. He, after over 10 years in the company, finally gets a singles match at WrestleMania. It's against a person the caliber of Seth Rollins, who has been a multiple-time world champion, and it puts him in a different level, I think. And hopefully the WWE's smart enough to go with it from here and give Cesaro a decent push. This guy went the distance with Seth Rollins. This match maybe even could have been longer, but we got everything we needed in this matchup. We had some very unique, very different offense from Seth Rollins. He pulled off a corkscrew body splash. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything like that. There was at one point he was hitting the ropes and he shot past Cesaro. He didn't want to shoot past Cesaro, and then he caught himself stopping his own momentum with his foot, only to reverse it and kick Cesaro right in the back of the head. His game plan going in was fantastic. We saw a lot of great reversals, but the finish of this match is something you have to go back and see if you missed it. Absolutely unbelievable. Cesaro got Seth Rollins up, bringing back the UFO, where he does an airplane spin without holding on to the person on his shoulders, which is something that's tremendously impressive. Seth Rollins tried to come back and hit him with the stomp, only to have it reversed into a European uppercut, and then getting nailed with the swing and the neutralizer for the second time in the match, getting his first singles win at WrestleMania. Cesaro defeating Seth Rollins in one of the best matches of the night. I really could go back and watch this match over and over again. I cannot tell you how proud I am of both of these guys. Don't tell Seth, because it's not like he's going to unblock me on Twitter or anything, but credit on this show always goes when it's due. And when you got me sitting on the edge of my seat, feeling like a young pro wrestling fan, you're doing your job. And congratulations to both men. Long overdue for Cesaro. And this performance really just makes me want to see what a guy like him could do in the ring with a guy like a Roman Reigns. Give him a Universal Championship run. This was a very, very good match. He proved his worth here. There's no reason why Cesaro should not be in championship contention. 23 swings. I think they were a little bit generous. The crowd doesn't count the swings properly. They may have overestimated. I think maybe it was a little bit less, if we're being accurate. But Michael Cole said 23 swings. So we'll go with that. Did that break his previous record from from SmackDown's swinging incident? I don't even remember. Is it that important? No. The only thing that's important is Cesaro celebrated his victory. He was thankful. He was playing with the crowd, who was into this whole entire show, which I couldn't be more grateful for. The crowd made it feel even better. Even that guy that's always in the front row with the lime green shirt, he was there. He still had his spot. I don't understand it. Anyway, I was very appreciative of the crowd on this night, as I think most of everybody on the roster was as well. We had the Dirty Dogs come out for absolutely no reason. I guess to tell everybody they won on WrestleMania Smackdown last night. But this, again, after a 30-minute delay, you could have cut this completely. We didn't need their insight on what they thought was going to happen between the New Day and AJ Styles and Omos. And I don't think anybody was going to expect what happened between the New Day and AJ and Omos. Big E came out to introduce his buddies in the New Day to do their entrance. And there was a large portion of this match in the early going where I remembered why I sometimes dislike the New Day. It's just too much with the jokies and the twerkies and the Francesca, and You're in there defending your championships. You're not taking it very seriously. You're in the ring with AJ motherfucking Styles, the phenomenal one. Multiple-time world champion everywhere he touched his feet to the ground. And you're treating him like a third-rate jobber. Yelling at him during the match, telling him you're not a tag team wrestler, AJ. And playing around like only the New Day does. But the story of this match had nothing to do with any of that. It had to do with the debut of the giant Omos, who decided that he's going to wrestle in King Corbin style wear, or maybe he just forgot his gear. But if that's his gear, he's dressed up, like another one of those waiters or, hotel managers. And I hate that thing, but that whole gimmick. But this man stood on the outside of the ring and was being tormented by the New Day while they were taking advantage of AJ Styles. They definitely had the advantage for the first half of the match. But finally, AJ built himself up. He got the hot tag. Omos came in and the New Day was done. My only real problem here was that he didn't really do all that much. What he did do was impressive. He gave them both Woods and Kofi backbreakers, which looked very painful. He has the aura of a giant. He is way better at the giant thing than Braun Strowman has been as of late. We'll get to that a little bit later. And I wasn't expecting the WWE to have Omos pin Kofi Kingston, winning the tag team championships in his first match at WrestleMania by just standing on them with one foot. Credit goes to the New Day for making Omos look outstanding. I have no idea where this is going, but I'm intrigued because Omos in the ring, while he wasn't super impressive, he's got the size factor. He's got a very scary face when he's angry. He's got an intimidation factor, and being the heavy for AJ Styles is nothing to sneeze at either. He's got maybe one of the best mouths he could have as his talking piece, and I'm into it. I wasn't into it going in. I didn't understand it, why they just would throw AJ and Omos in a tag team situation. But it's clear to me now that they only gave the titles back to the New Day to drop them to AJ and Omos. But the only real problem, I might have said that already, so maybe there's two problems, but I didn't quite understand the dynamic of the heel face here, because the New Day were the baby faces in the scenario, but they were wrestling like a heel tag team. And then you got AJ and Omos, who are supposed to be the heels, and they're getting cheered from the crowd, and, they're getting beat up by the other team, and they were essentially playing the babyface role, leading to the hot tag, leading to the Giant getting the win for his team. So it's kind of confusing. Are AJ and Omos going to be good guys going forward? Are the New Day going to turn? I don't understand. It was a little off-putting psychologically that way, but the match itself was just fine. It was fine. And we have new tag team champions. My favorite spot of the whole match was at one point after Omos was in there, AJ Styles did a phenomenal forearm off the Giant's shoulders to take out Xavier Woods, which left Kofi vulnerable for a gigantic tree slam, they called it, but it's just a two-handed power bomb pretty much. And he took out Kofi and got the 3 count. This was a very good way to debut Omos, and I was into it. You know what I wasn't into? Another time where we had to say we were feeling like Patchy like this. And trapped inside of a cage this time. The first steel cage match being held at WrestleMania since WrestleMania 2 when Hulk Hogan took on King Kong Bundy. That, of course, is if you're discounting Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell is not a steel cage match. Sure, it is a cell that is constructed made out of steel cage, but it's not the same. You know that. You're not an idiot. But this is the second time in history we've had a cage match, and I could have done without the whole thing. This was, I mean, you're going to see people online, all the respected names are going to put this match over. Oh, this cage match was great. The cage match was intense, blah, blah, blah. The cage match proved Shane McMahon right. Because at the end of the day, Braun Strowman turned out to look like a dumbass. Braun Strowman I'm not going to talk a lot about this because this was your standard WWE nonsense cage match. Elias and Jackson Riker still got themselves involved, just as we all knew they would. Shane McMahon was hitting Braun Strowman with everything he could possibly find. For some reason, we had giant sacks hung from the top of the steel cage. Have you ever seen giant half-open duffel bags hanging from the top of the steel cage before? One in every corner, no less. And you know what was in these giant sacks? A full stocked toolbox. A toolbox. You know how I know this? Because Shane McMahon climbed to the top of the cage and went fishing in the sack. He put his hand in the sack. That sounds terrible when you say that. He put his hands in the sack. But that's what he did. He put his hand in the sack and he pulled out a big fucking red box. A big red metal toolbox. He clocked Braun Strowman right in the head with it. It makes me so mad I can't even speak. And then the guy still doesn't win. Braun Strowman got hit in the head with a steel box, falls, 10 feet from the top rope to the ground. And what did it do for Shane McMahon? It did absolutely nothing. Who's putting toolboxes in sacks on top of a steel cage? I don't know. Did Shane McMahon do this before the match, intentionally laying little booby traps in the giant sacks around the ring? Did Shane pay somebody to do that? How did he know there was a toolbox in there? A lot of little loopholes. A lot of gaps in the logic here. You want to talk about another big gap in logic? Braun Strowman, after ripping through the cage, right? He rips the cage off of its fixture, right? Pulling the steel cage off to grab Shane McMahon from the outside and pull him in. Pulls the guy in and doesn't leave the cage. You just ripped a hole in the cage. You threw your opponent back in. You should have went out the hole that you ripped in. And even though you didn't do that, you wanted to maybe get back in there, dish out a little more punishment. I understand, since he's called you stupid, and you're all pissed about it now. It's just the worst build of all the matches, maybe, on the entire WrestleMania card. At the end of this match, towards the end of this match, he's on top of the steel cage, as we all knew this was happening, with Shane McMahon. He grabs Shane by the shirt and tosses him off, which Shane almost fucked up by the way he tried to launch himself off. The momentum was just off. If you look closely, you will see that there was a slight error at the beginning of this throw, but luckily Shane was able to land safely on his back. He had his sweaty Shane McStuntman moment, so I was hoping very soon this match would end. And instead of doing the smart thing and climbing down the top of the cage, Braun Strowman gets back into the match just to power slam and pin Shane McMahon. I understand people are going to come at me with he wanted to really hurt Shane. He promised Shane he was going to destroy him, so he needed to dish out some extra punishment, and he wanted to win by pin. But the whole point of a steel cage match is to escape the cage, right? Sure, you can win by pinfall or submission, but the drama comes and the excitement comes escaping the cage. They tried to play on that a couple of times. Shane McMahon tried to escape only to be tossed off a couple of times. I didn't care. This match, I was done with this match before it even begun. When it was over, it had gone on way too long. It was 10 minutes of my life, 12 minutes of my life that I could definitely use back, but I will never get back. I would have much rather have seen the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on this card, besides the steel cage match or the tag team turmoil match. Either one of these matches could have happened on SmackDown or Raw respectively and just be done with it. These were not needed at WrestleMania, but they just needed a spot for Shane to be falling off of something. I'm surprised it wasn't the big pirate ship. Maybe they're reserving that spot for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn tomorrow night. The steel cage match, throw it away. It was absolutely worthless. The crowd seemed into it, but I'm going to be forgiving of the crowd because you haven't been able to be at a live wrestling show in over a year, so obviously they're going to be super excited for everything that they got tonight, and they were pretty much throughout the entirety of the show, and I don't blame them. I would have been excited. Well, me personally, even during this match, I would have went and take a look. I would have went and took a leak, not take a look, because I didn't want to look at this. I would have went to take a leak, or maybe get another beer, or a nice big fat hot dog to shove in my face, because I would probably be very hungry at this point. Anyway, I might be hungry right now. That's why I'm talking about food. So let's roll on, as we're almost through the entirety of WrestleMania. We had the Hall of Fame class. It was time to bring out the Hall of Famers, and I was very appreciative of the fact that they took advantage of the fact that they have 2 nights. So we're going to do WrestleMania Hall of Fame class from last year. 2020's class was announced tonight. Tomorrow we will do 2021. They didn't do both of them and make it just this big over-bloated thing, and it was better to split them both between the nights. This night, for the 2020 class, we honored JBL. May not be your favorite guy. Did a lot of bad shit in the industry, but definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. William Shatner, who has been involved with the WWE. When I was very young, I seen him around a couple of times. He's been in a few WrestleManias. He's been involved quite a bit. I guess, sure, he could be in the Hall of Fame celebrity wing. Why not? Nikki and Brie Bella, they definitely have made their contributions. Their popularity almost insists that they go into the Hall of Fame. They were trendsetters. They didn't start the women's revolution as they kind of claim to, but, we'll give them their due. The Bella twins have a place in history, and now they're in the Hall of Fame. That's just fine. Jushin Thunder Liger absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. WWE-wise, he wasn't really around all that much. He had a couple of notable appearances. He was in WCW a couple of times as well. But his body of work speaks for himself. He's a wrestling Hall of Famer, not necessarily pertaining to the WWE, but at this point, the WWE Hall of Fame is almost like an all-encompassing wrestling Hall of Fame. Anyway, so what does it matter? He definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Titus O'Neil getting the Warrior Award. Again, the Warrior Award, when the Warrior announced it, I thought was supposed to be for people within the company that do the odd jobs, like the producers and the guy Jim Johnston that used to make the music, and the guys that do the epic promo packages, and the people that set up the stages. Like, these are the people I thought the Warrior Award was going to honor. Not that I have a problem with who they do honor, but Titus O'Neil, for being a fantastic human being and giving back to the community, he is the recipient of the Warrior Award for 2020, and I don't see any problem with that. The final 2 were the British Bulldog and the NWO. Both definitely deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't really dig the whole group thing. Like, I understand that they're acknowledging groups like the Four Horsemen and things like that, but the NWO had like 52 members, and you're just inducting these 4 guys, and really it should only be Hogan, Hall, and Nash. X-Pac don't need to be in there because he was barely in the NWO. He left the NWO and made his fame with DX. So shouldn't he actually be going in with D-Generation X? Whatever. That's just me nitpicking, I guess, at this point. But the NWO were there for the Hall of Fame as well. It was great to hear the music. The music gives me chills when I hear it. I was NWO, and they're right. When you're NWO for life, because it just felt good hearing the music, seeing the black and white, seeing the gang on stage, even though they were old as fuck now, which means I'm old as fuck as well. It's just kind of depressing. What's not depressing is they announced next year's WrestleMania 38 is going to be in AT&T Stadium. Hopefully we don't have to wait a whole nother year for fans to attend that WrestleMania to see fans back in the crowd. But Stone Cold Steve Austin let us know that everything's bigger in Texas. You don't mess with Texas, and WrestleMania is going to be in Arlington, Texas, come this time next year. Then the most surprising match of the night. And I can't even believe I'm telling you this, but Damian Priest and Bad Bunny defeated The Miz and John Morrison, which we all kind of knew. But what we didn't know going into this thing is that Bad Bunny himself was going to put on one hell of a match. I thought he was going to do the typical celebrity thing, stand outside and wait for the tag in certain spots, do a couple of double teams with Damian Priest, and then call it a day. But instead, Bad Bunny did most of the heavy lifting in this match. The guy did a Canadian destroyer on the outside of the ring, for God's sake. He was pulling off body splashes. He was actually wrestling. He learned a lot. He's only been around for what, like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, and the amount of wrestling he absorbed and was able to pull off, he did a better job than some of the students that I used to train back with at House of Glory. And being somebody that has been in that ring and has learned a lot of moves, I could tell you that some of that shit that he was pulling off is not easy to do. Some of the reversals, some of the bumps he had to take for Miz, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So I have to give props to this guy. He showed that, yeah, he's a wrestling fan. He respects this business. He really worked hard to perform, overperform at WrestleMania. It was absolutely great. It was very entertaining. It was a whole lot of fun. And my hat also goes off, which this is something, again, we never say on this channel. My hat goes off to The Miz. Because The Miz was the dance partner for Bad Bunny for the majority of this match. And he made this guy look like $1 million. The only thing bad I could say about this is the fact that Bad Bunny pinned The Miz. This guy was just the WWE champion a couple of weeks ago. Like, something about a celebrity pinning a former champion just doesn't really mesh well with the critic inside me. And it makes me want to bring the hammer down, and there's a little bit of it that makes me want to drop a poop hammer on it. But we're not going to do that because the guy showed up in the ring. I think he did more wrestling moves than Damian Priest did. It was great. And again, much like they did with Omos and AJ, Bad Bunny did all of the work leading to the hot tag for Damian Priest, which kind of puts him into that category of this guy's a big deal. Because once he gets in the ring, it's going to get down to business. Maybe it's making them see him as a big star because Damian Priest could be a big star. And I want to just take back all of the bad things that I have said about this story for the last couple of weeks, with the exception of the hey, hey, hop, hop bullshit like that. I can never erase that from my brain, and I will never forgive them for that terrible, terrible build for up to this match. It was awful, but for anything that I had said negative about this Bad Bunny guy, I take it back. He's got nothing but my respect. If you don't believe me, and you think I'm crazy, or you think maybe I knocked myself out with this hammer, go watch it for yourself, and you will agree that it is way better than anything you could have anticipated this match being. And I'm grateful for that. Another one of the matches on this night that just overperformed. 15 minutes this guy was out there. I can't remember, other than the match I cited earlier, Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow, when else have you seen a celebrity that was involved in a match really do what we've seen this guy do tonight? You can't think of it because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So props and respect to Bad Bunny. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was unbelievable. John Morrison with his ridiculous mullet. Johnny Mullet. I don't know what that hairdo's about. Maybe he thinks it's 1990 something. They did a lot of insulting along the way when The Miz and Morrison had control of Bad Bunny for multiple situations. Another spot that really impressed me was they did let me be more specific. Damian Priest and Bad Bunny did simultaneous Falcon Arrow slams. It was great. It was great. Damian Priest did a very impressive over-the-top rope dive. Bad Bunny himself hit the top rope, did a great splash to the outside. There was just so much going on. And there was one final second where The Miz countered Damian Priest's finisher into the skull-crushing finale, but thankfully Bad Bunny broke it up. You hear me saying thankfully? When he hit the skull-crushing finale, I audibly was like, no! because I actually wanted Damian Priest and Bad Bunny to win. And they did that. They pulled me into this match. You got to give credit to these four guys. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable how they pulled this off. And another thing that was unbelievable was the main event. Now, I know a lot of people were kind of saying, and myself included, were saying that maybe this match didn't deserve the main event spot. And boy, did they show up, show out, and show us that we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Yes, like the common thread with everything else, the build-up to this show and the build-up especially to this match was faltered heavily. They turned it into just a stupid promo thing back and forth, but it was sidetracked by the whole Women's Tag Team Championship, can they coexist storyline, when they could have really got into the meat and potatoes of these two girls, making this match even bigger than it ended up being. But the fact that Bianca Belair went out there in her first WrestleMania, winning the Smackdown Women's Championship in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 37, the sky is the limit for Bianca Belair. If the WWE does not mess this up, they have another superstar on their hands. This was just really, really great. This match, again, was something else. They went out there to tear it up. They knew what was on the line, and it was fantastically done. Both of them, the story in this match was the power of Bianca Belair versus the experience and the cunning of Sasha Banks, and they played it perfectly. There were so many impressive feats of strength by Bianca Belair in this match. At one point, Sasha did a tope through the ropes, and it looked like she hit Bianca Belair with it, but as they went down to the ground, Bianca rolled through, picked up Sasha Banks from the ground without letting her go, and then gorilla press slammed her. Well, not slammed, but she gorilla pressed her over her head and then walked with her over her head back up into the ring. It was something we have never seen before. There was multiple times in this match where she was taking complete advantage of Sasha Banks' weight disadvantage here, holding her up for a suplex for a good 1 minute, letting all the blood rush to her head as she just kept bouncing Sasha from one rope to the other rope, and then just, doing squats with her in the air, just really showing the world how strong she actually is. And this is the type of stuff they really should have been leaning on throughout the build, illustrating how powerful and how dangerous Bianca actually is, and how deadly that braid could be. We've all forgotten how deadly that braid could be, and it could be like a blade. And Sasha would know firsthand by the end of this match. Bianca went for a 450 splash and would miss and get caught with the knees of Sasha Banks right in the gut. I thought she was winded. I thought maybe she might have broke a rib. But as the match progressed, Bianca would come back up with some more momentum. She gave Sasha Banks a double power bomb, like Chris Jericho used to do, when the power bomb, and then you pick him back up and then you power bomb him again for a couple of very close 2 counts. They were all over the place. They were fighting outside the ring. Sasha Banks tried to be as manipulative and as mentally strong as she could, as she tried to use Bianca's braid, that extra long braid, against her in multiple occasions, tying her up into the ropes, using it as part of a submission hold. There was so much great things about this match, but was made even greater by the fact that there was, at the very end, the final spot, they were kind of playing tug of war, right? This was after Bianca actually hit a 450 splash and got the closest near fall of the night. She almost lost her mind. She couldn't believe that Sasha Banks kicked out. Then they would get back up. There would be a tug of war with Bianca's hair. She would pull Sasha Banks in and end up hitting her with that braid so hard. I can still hear it, man. It was so loud, I felt it. It was unbelievably loud. I'd forgotten how devastating that hair whip could be. And then she would follow it up with a KOD for a nice, clean pinfall win over Sasha Banks, where Michael Cole fucked up the finish. He said Sasha kicked out, even though she was clearly out for the count. I don't know what the hell this guy was watching. Maybe he didn't think the match was over yet, but the ref clearly counted 3. Sasha didn't move a muscle, and Cole was like, she kicked out. And then he backtracked. He's like, oh, I was so excited. I thought she kicked out. Shut up, idiot. You fucked up. Just move on. You almost ruined a great moment. But Bianca Belair is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Her family was at ringside. Her father was flipping out. He was flipping out so much that he almost fell over the barricade. He was celebrating so hard. He just wanted to, you could just tell that he wanted to jump the barricade and go grab his baby girl. You could tell. It was emotional. It was intense. At the start of this match, actually, talking about emotional and intense, before this match even began, after they did the announcements and the introductions, Bianca and Sasha had a stare down where Bianca actually started to tear up and cry. And it made me emotional because I can't imagine what making it to the pinnacle of professional wrestling would be like. I flew too close to the sun with House of Glory. I got as close as I could before my body was like, nope, you can't do this anymore, and broke in a way that ensures that I won't be able to ever get in the ring again. And at 42 years old, it's probably a good thing. But, man, to be in the main event of WrestleMania, it's got to be no better feeling. And the crowd and the fans being there after a year-long absence had to have made it even more special. So congratulations to Bianca Belair, the new women's champion. Congratulations to AJ and Omos, the new tag team champions. And I guess congratulations to Bobby Lashley, who's still killing it as the almighty champion of the WWE. And now that night 1 is done, we have to get ready for night 2, where there are easily 2 matches, once again, that I don't care about. We don't care about The Fiend and Randy Orton. We don't care about the Women's Tag Team Championships. And then we got Big E and Apollo, which should be really great. We got Matt Riddle and Sheamus, which the only thing I want out of that match is to see Sheamus be rewarded for all of the great performances he has given us over the course of the last couple of months. Even though, much like Jey Uso, he's done nothing but lose, he's been putting on great match after great match. So reward him with this championship, because Matt Riddle is a joke, and he shoots fucking birds out of his feet, and we don't need champions that be doing that kind of shit. All right, let's keep it real. And then, of course, I'm probably missing one because of the inimportance of it, but the main one, the one that we've all been excited for, was the triple threat for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. And do yourself a favor. Consider this a public service announcement from your old friend Sledge. Go watch Talking Smack. I don't ever talk about Talking Smack because when I do tune into Talking Smack, it's usually just them talking smack and not being very entertaining at all. But if you go to WWE Network and you watch the Talking Smack from this morning, you will see, without a doubt, the most emotional, goosebump-inducing, tears in your eyes swelling promo that you will ever see, with an exchange between Paul Heyman and Edge that you need to see to believe. And you need to see it to feel it. Because it's one of the most real promos I think I've heard all year. And Talking Smack is known for occasionally having these moments of greatness. But I don't think since The Miz and Daniel Bryan had their altercation on Talking Smack have I felt anything as raw and as visceral with emotion as I did listening to Paul and Edge have a very polite conversation, but the words, they just cut right to your soul. And it's great. It may be the greatest thing they've done as far as pre-match hype especially for the Universal Championship. And that stuff has been great. We've gotten great promo after great promo from all three men involved, but this one is one that you can't miss. Thank you guys all so very much. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out everything else on this channel. If you missed my review of the 2 worst go-home shows of all time in the history of WrestleMania, which don't deserve to be the go-home shows to a WrestleMania that was as good as it was, at least for night 1, they'll be linked in the annotations up above. You want to hear me be more negative? You want to hear me get more mad? Go watch some of those shows. Maybe we'll be more pissed off tomorrow. I don't know. I can't promise anything because WrestleMania delivered 100%, with the exception of those 2 shit matches that get the poop hammer, like we talked about earlier. We are going on close to an hour, and we got a long day ahead of us tomorrow. We had a late night tonight. Hopefully the rain don't screw things up for night 2, and I'll see you all for that one tomorrow night. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and the all-new and improved Blue the Snowball microphone. Still the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world. Even though you don't see his belt, don't mean he's not the champ. He's still the champ. And so are you. The most important member of the Sledge Nation is each and every one of you Sledgeheads. I'm appreciating every single one of you every single day more than you'll ever know. Make sure if you're not already subscribed, you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything when the hammer comes down on the WWE here on Sledgehammer TV. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they want to get in on the conversation for WrestleMania 37. This is one of the best hubs to do so because my fans are some of the best fans in the world. Let's try to get this channel to 3,000 subscribers before the weekend is over. That would be fantastic. We only need about 150 more. Let's do it, guys. Start clicking that subscribe button. I would appreciate it very much. And if you had a great time here on this show tonight, if you like you some Patchy the Pirate, gotta love some Patchy. Yeah, make sure. I'm getting delirious from my WrestleMania high right now. Make sure you smash that like button. Especially if you like Patchy. Patchy liked it. Patchy hit the like button. You should too. Thank you guys all once again for being here. That's going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you tomorrow night for night 2 right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. WrestleMania. Wow.